Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. It's Jackie Broman here from TBA Law. I hope everyone survived such a cold weekend. It's lovely to see some sun in the background there coming through today, and hopefully that lasts and dries up some of the puddles that are around the place. So today I'm talking about neighbours again and living within a community. So previously I've done a lot of videos on wills and estates because that's my specialty. TBA Law also does a lot of work in property, and so I've done a short sequence on conveyancing property transactions, and now I'm moving on to a short sequence of living in the community with our neighbours and what your rights and responsibilities are, because most of us go through our daily lives not thinking about what's actually regulating how we all get along fairly well and how things work relatively smoothly. And you can't choose your neighbours, and as soon as you do actually come across a neighbour that's difficult to live next door to, you can see how a whole lot of these laws are relevant and come into place. So today I'm talking about trees and trees on neighbouring properties. So most people would appreciate that it's a law that you can't trespass on someone else's private property. Now that includes physically going onto someone's property, and it is a criminal and a civil action. So there are criminal penalties of trespass, but there are also civil penalties. So instead of going to the police, the neighbour could take you to court if you trespass on their property and claim damages against you and have orders for you not to do it again. Now, trespass includes digging under the neighbouring person's land. It also includes not allowing anything to overhang your neighbour's land without their permission. So that includes property, physical structures obviously, but it also, this is where trees start coming in. Tree roots go under the ground, and next door tree limbs overhang. So it's a form of trespass in a civil sense because you're not physically going into their property. So there's no criminal trespass in this case, it's civil. And it can also be a civil action of nuisance. So the tort of nuisance also allows orders to be made for pruning of trees and roots, and for damages as well. So compensation claims for damage that might be caused from tree limbs either falling on the neighbouring property, or leaves clogging things up, or roots coming under and damaging piping, concrete driveways, etc. So civil actions of trespass and nuisance are what you have. So what are the solutions? Now, just like with the last topic I spoke about with neighbours, it is always best to try and speak to them first, ask them to prune their tree, ask them to prune the roots of the tree. Not so easy necessarily, particularly if there's not much room. So you ask, you've got dispute resolution services to help you through this process, and again there are free community dispute resolution centres that do disputes around neighbours, particularly around trees and fences. So trees are certainly something that they do dispute resolution over. The other thing you can do is get a quote to get the trees pruned, right? So you get the quote, you provide it to the neighbour, and say, look, this needs to be done, here's a quote, are you going to do it? If they don't, you are able to do it. So you are actually allowed to prune anything that's overhanging onto your land. And in fact, you don't actually have to ask them first. It's the polite thing to do to let them know that you're going to do it. It's also polite to let them know that you have a quote, and if they don't do it, that you could claim the money back from them. Whether you do or not, it's another thing. You could just prune the thing yourself, and then not have any comeback against the neighbour, just keep it neat on your side. So you're quite allowed to do that. You can't cross into your neighbour's property to do it, you have to do it from your side. The tree is your neighbour's tree, so technically you could chuck the branches back into their property and it's not illegal dumping of rubbish because it's their tree. So yeah, you can see all that these things apply for trees, overhanging, but also roots. Now the difficulty with roots is that if you prune roots, it obviously takes a whole lot of work underground, but you're also not allowed to damage or kill their tree. So you certainly can't poison. And just be aware that if you start pruning roots, it could have a detrimental effect on the tree. So this is why it is best to talk to the neighbour before you start doing things. If you don't want to do it yourself, as I said, you've got a couple of different actions. You've got a trespass action or a nuisance action in torts, and you can take it to a magistrate's court. You can get an order for the tree to be pruned. You could get an order technically for the whole tree to be cut down if it's such an issue. And you can get compensation as well if you have damaged property, like I was saying before, cracked driveways where the roots are raising the driveway up and it's pretty clear what's causing it. You get quotes for the repair. You make the claim in court for the damage. So that's the worst case scenario. But as I said, you can't choose who you live next door to, and it's best not to aggravate these situations if you can. So in trying to live with people, we do need to try and talk to them first, try and come to another solution, or try and solve the problem yourself. But as I say, there are avenues to go through. So there you go, neighbours and trees. They can cause a lot of problems, but hopefully with some common sense, people can live next door to each other without major issues. So I will post this video permanently onto the Facebook page so that you can come back and watch it if you need to when it's more relevant, or you can tag other people's names in it if that's something that you believe someone you know is having a similar problem. I come and do these videos every Monday morning, and at the moment, as I said, I'm doing a series of laws around living next door to people and neighbours and living in the community. So I hope it's helpful, and I also hope that you have a great week. Happy Monday. See you next Monday.